The big problem at the moment is your mind is all over the place, scattered, one thing after another. It's not even sequential chaos. So tonight, Daniel wants to talk about Lojong. And Lojong means mind training, mind taming. And it really is the most important subject. And for us as householders, this can be practiced at home. So that's very good news. So the problem with Lojong, mind training or mind taming, is people don't understand how important it is. And they overlook it and go to more exotic and exciting, visualizations and practices. But none of the other practices, any of it, is worthwhile without the tame mind. So the tame mind means, and this is a very important point, that you are in control of the mind. And the bad news is that at the moment you are not in control of the mind. You think you are, and you've got access to a certain amount of peripheral or surface level thought and action. And if we stop now and do meditation and you look, you will notice that you can't stop the mind doing. You can't stop the mind doing. Something is moving, something is thinking, something is engaging. There's all sorts of things on all sorts of levels going on. And as your practice goes on, trying to calm the mind, your awareness increases of the mind. And as your awareness increases of the mind, you can see further out into the mind. And that makes things seem worse. That doesn't make things seem better, because the further out you can see, the more thoughts and attachments, aversions, emotions, attitudes, ideas, theories, imputations you can see. So one way of thinking of the mind is a huge, delightful ballroom, a large room, very elaborate, very lovely. And at first, when you first start meditating on what the mind is doing, there's you, and around you is just a small crowd of people looking at you. And these are the thoughts and the emotions and the attitudes that are primarily involved with your local concerns, things that are going on in your life at the moment, and tinged with your identity and how you feel about yourself, good or bad, fearful, lonely, happy, looking forward to something, etc., etc. As your mindfulness increases, your awareness of the mind increases, more attitudes, emotions, etc. come into focus. As I say, your field of scope increases and there's more thoughts and more. So this makes you feel, oh, this is hopeless, The more I try to tame the mind, the more, but that's not the case. Your awareness has to increase all the way out. You have to be aware of everything that's in the mind and keep going. And the secret to mind training is to not believe, not believe in these people. These people are trying to oppress you, these ideas and attitudes, and they are trying to overrule you, oppress you with your own identity. These attitudes and emotions and defilements and all the rest of it, all these thoughts and colours and shapes and memories, etc. The one thing they've all got in common is there's some kind of a personal taint to them. They've all got yourself, your idea of your identity, linked to them somehow. So the Lojong training is based on, originally, in the first place, initially, just calming down the mind and not engaging with these thoughts. So how to do that? the first thing to meditate on is the difference between the mind and the thoughts. They are two completely different things. The mind is like the sky, the thoughts are like the clouds. The mind is like the ocean, the thoughts are like the waves. The mind is like space, the thoughts are like the planets. So many different analogies. Some say the mind is like a lake and the thoughts are like the fish swimming around in the lake. So they're two different things. One contains the other, container and contained. The container is the mind, the contained are the thoughts. So again, two different things. And you can use this duality at first just by simply meditating on the concept, on the understanding that they are two different things. Get used to the idea of the mind not being the thoughts. Get used to the idea, familiarize with the idea of the thoughts not being the mind. So normally people think of the two as the same thing. But, and eventually, funnily enough, you will realize that there is a connection. But for now, see them as two separate things. Make the mind the observer and the thoughts the observed. And you sit in meditation and you think of the mind as the backdrop, and the thoughts as going across it. And you gradually reduce those thoughts, down, until nothing is coming along. No thoughts are coming along. No more clouds, just a clear sky, mind only. And once you get to that clear space, you need to stabilize it. And it's very difficult to go from thoughts to the clear mind. But if you can do that, then you just literally, you don't do anything, because you is a thought. Obviously, what's happening there, if you can get to mind only, is it's just the mind. So you just make sure it doesn't get disturbed. There's no interruption. It's what we call a non-conceptual clarity mind. Now, obviously that's a very difficult stage, and the technique to get to that is, in Sakya we call it the blue flower, meditating on the blue flower. So a painting, a picture, a photo, or actually a blue flower, normally against a light blue background, because light blue doesn't damage your eyes, and you just stare at it with your eyes and try to lock the mind on the blue flower, and don't think about anything else at all. Don't think of it as a blue flower. We use a blue flower because it's beautiful and because blue doesn't damage the eyes when you concentrate on it for a long time. You just concentrate on the blue flower, and every time the mind wanders away, there's 9 stages to this. One placement, replacement, etc. It just means every time your mind wanders away, you bring it back. And eventually your mind doesn't wander away, and you can just hold your gaze on the blue flower. And the idea is the flower doesn't move, you don't move, your eyes don't blink. It has to become a completely static, very relaxed, pinpoint, needlepoint concentration on the center of the blue flower. And this is training the mind, just like taming a wild horse. At the moment, your mind is a wild horse. At the moment, just like a wild horse is so belligerent, you put the wild horse in the corral, in the paddock, and it wants to be out. You take the horse out, it wants to be in. It's just completely belligerent, completely selfish. That is your mind at the moment. Obstinate, awkward, arrogant, prideful. It just wants to do its own thing, and it doesn't want to be told what to do. That is why the mind is like a wild horse. Taming the wild horse, taming the mind, means you are now, just like you do with a wild horse, just keep trying to ride it, and every time you go near it, it bucks and, tries to attack you. But eventually, you get on the horse, and through various means, the horse calms down, and eventually you can let go of the reins, and the horse just stands there. And for the rest of its life, that horse is a great help to other beings. Whereas when it was wild, it was of no help to anyone. It was just a selfish, belligerent, angry, harmful, dangerous thing. And so it's a very, very good analogy for the mind, because once you get your mind trained to do what you want it to do, and it is no longer doing its wild, crazy thing on its own, your mind will become helpful to all beings. At the moment, it's not any help to anyone because it's all over the place. One minute a good thought, next minute a bad thought, totally unstable. It's very important that you tame the mind completely and it becomes obedient, so that it can be of the utmost help for the betterment of society, the world, and all beings, and eventually, obviously, liberation and enlightenment, the Bodhisattva path. Without this initial taming, none of the rest of it is possible. So you must be able to hold the mind. When you decide the mind is not going to move and not think of anything, that is what it must do. And that's it. There's no excuses. There must be no excuses. You have to hold the mind and not be distracted and not allow anything to move or distract the mind. It does exactly what you want. So another way of doing it, apart from an external blue flower, is internally in the mind you picture the Buddha floating in space. Normally they say just above eyebrow level, maybe thumb size. The important thing here is everything is dissolved. Your idea, your concept of existence, your concept of living, your concept of the world, your concept of phenomena, sky, floor, place, up, down, everything's gone. It's completely dissolved. There's no you, there's no body. It's just the Buddha floating. And you don't think it's Buddha, you don't conceptualize it. You just imagine the golden Buddha, actual real Buddha, just floating on a lotus in the sky. And you just concentrate on that with your mind, that visualization. Don't move. It doesn't move. Mind doesn't move. Completely 100% focus. And you just hold that. Every time the mind tries to move, you bring it back until it's just perfect. And remember, what you're doing is disciplining the mind, taming the mind not to move, training it to be obedient. That is what is called Lojong, mind training. Once you can do that, all the Dharma, all the teachings, sutras, everything is available to you. You will be able to read it and concentrate, and it will go much deeper into the mind because the chaos has stopped and you can ingest the information perfectly, purely, because there's no distraction. Very, very important, the mind training. In Tibetan, although we say Lojong, another most important, I say another aspect, but the most important aspect actually is called Shinai. Shinai is the Tibetan word for calm abiding. Calm abiding means once you have trained the mind, once you have tamed the mind is held in that peaceful state. Like the wild horse, now tamed, stands there without anyone doing anything, just happy to stand there, doesn't attack anyone, doesn't try to escape, just peaceful. Peaceful. That's a very, very important word. And another word for peaceful is calm. So calm abiding. The mind abides in calmness all the time. You don't have to try. That's the thing. Once the mind is tame, once the mind is trained, you don't have to keep it calm. You don't have to keep it peaceful. It's naturally calm and peaceful without anything, without any interruption, without any intervention. So once you have this, now this is where it can get confusing, because people might, I think what many people do is there's a sense of self in the mind-only observation. There's an observer of the observed mind. There's still someone observe. That's not right. That is not how it works. The ultimate calm abiding, which is known as samadhi, and the shinai in Sanskrit is known as shamatha. This shamatha practice leads to samadhi, and in samadhi there is not an observer of the mind. It's not mindfulness. Samadhi is a singular thing. It's mind only. So the mind is singularly calm, peaceful, and there's no observer on it. There's no duality. Samadhi is the mind abiding or dwelling in its own true, pure, unborn nature. That is the result that you're aiming for. And although that sounds ridiculously advanced at the moment, it's very important that we know that, so that we know the destination that we're aiming for. The destination that we're aiming for is not an observer of the mind. That's dualistic. The destination we're aiming for is the mind to realize its own selfless nature. The mind needs to realize that anything other than it is merely a dualistic, deluded production. When the mind realizes that, that is liberation. Freedom from concept. Freedom from duality. Duality means self and others. All the causes of all the suffering is duality. Cause of samsara is duality, a false belief in existence. So when the mind realizes that its own nature is the only real permanent thing, the ultimate primordial awareness, bang, everything, there's not a problem anymore. Everything is solved, all solutions, every problem, all sufferings ended. No more rebirth, no more suffering, no more ridiculous delusions, no more grasping, no more clinging, no more attachment, no aversion, and the most important thing, no more ignorance. Ignorance means that you believe in an inherent existence, in phenomena, in others, in oneself. No such thing. All of that is gone once you realise, well, once the mind realises its own true nature is selfless. So a bit advanced, but Nicola's face, it all starts with Lojong. It all starts with mind training, being able to concentrate, hold the mind single-pointedly on one thing. The big problem at the moment is your mind is all over the place, scattered. One thing after another. It's not even sequential chaos. It's a bit from there, a bit from there. You know, in computer speak, they're called invalid paths, which means the information goes off and then just comes to a dead end. If you check, that's what your mind is doing all the time. The washing up. Oh, did I get the washing in? Did I leave the oven on? I need to do the hoovering. Or I need to go to work. Did I pay that bill? Let's have a look at the emails. Let's scroll endlessly through social media for no reason. Where's my socks? It's just endless tat. And most of these, and the things I've said there are actually important. If you actually look what your mind is doing, there's no significance at all. 99% of the things we think are completely invalid. They've got nothing to do with anything. And we only have access to 10% of them. So it's a long way to go. We have to become aware of all the people in the room, and then we have to usher them all out and enjoy the peace and the silence and the space.